Hi, my name is Nancy Love, and I'm going to be talking to you once again about some science fiction, extrapolative fiction work that I'm doing. It's called Game Over, Return to Innocence, Game Over. This particular chapter is called Innocent Lives Matter. As some of you, very few of you will know because only a few subscribers have come into this channel, the Planet Peace Project. It deals with a context in which people get brought into something called the game, and they're forced to choose between one another's lives and choose things like, would you marry so and so to save his life? And, would you, if you have twins, would you, sacrifice the life of one twin to save the other? Or when you're married, if would you sacrifice your wife or husband's life to save your children's lives? And it goes on and on. It's a travesty. It's a profound injustice. It's unholy. It is unnatural. And it's got to go. So we have this fictional hero called NK Ultra. And it is definitely a play on the term, the acronym MK Ultra, from United States government experiments on human beings, unwilling and uh, sometimes uninformed victims of these experiments. So MK Ultra is this courageous person who, for a quarter of a century, actually fights the game, refuses to be brought in, refuses to answer protection questions, and she just plain old out and out won't play the game. But eventually, so many people who've become inured and um, just so disgusted by the slavery in their own lives join her, and a movement starts called the Resistance. So some people get born into this, and some people are asked protection questions very, very early in their lives when they're 3, 4, and 5 years old. Um, and some people get brought in much later. They're recruited out of innocence when they're in their adulthoods. But everybody hates the game, and only the most corrupt, foul, basically ultimately stupid people. You've got to be really stupid to want to be in some context like that. It's a prison. People don't go around surrounded by bars and, in what looks like cages, most of them. But everybody who's in this is in a form of jail because it is not natural. It is not healthy. It is not holy to play the game with the lives of others or your own. It is not natural or holy or normal or healthy to be asked if you'd sacrificed your life to save someone else's. And it's certainly not any of that healthy, holy, natural to be willing to or asked to sacrifice the lives of others. And one of the things we find out in this fictional context is that people will actually, I mean, this is like heartless. I'm kind of feeling guilty for even talking about this because, who comes up with an idea like this? Well, unfortunately, a lot of what I'm talking about has some precursors in real life. The context I'm talking about is not entirely fictional at all. And those of you who know what the mafia really does to people, then you know that I'm telling you straight up truth. There are people who've profited from this whole context, and their children are brought in, and they're the fortunate ones. They're people who are taught this context and this unholiness and this unnatural lifestyle from the get go, so they don't know that there is a world of innocence, or they see the world and suspect that other people are innocent of their shame. But all they've ever known is their shame, the shame of the game. And they don't really understand that it's possible to live free of this prison and this shame. There are people who generate children on purpose in order to have more options to sacrifice. There are, excuse me, there are people who gather livestock and pets around them to have more options to sacrifice. There are even people who offer to foster other people's animals in order to have more options to sacrifice when they're asked to. And so one of the main things that NK Ultra and the other members of the resistance, and keep in mind this grows into the thousands and even the millions, it becomes a worldwide movement. We are millions strong. It comes about that the idea of sacrificing the lives of innocents, whether they be cats, dogs, horses, parrots, ferrets, bunny rabbits, hamsters, and children, human children, becomes completely anathema to anybody's soul. Anybody who actually still has a soul left absolutely refuses to play the game to begin with, and utterly and absolutely refuses completely to commit the completely immoral crime of being willing to sacrifice the life of an innocent to play the game. So, henceforth, absolutely no more cats, dogs, horses, parrots, ferrets, or human children. No bunnies and hamsters, and nobody who lives in a context where they're so completely innocent, or by virtue of their species or their age, would even have a context for understanding the game. All those lives are completely exempt from the game. And it becomes a massive worldwide movement that if you play the game with the life of an innocent, if you're willing to sacrifice between your dog and your brother's horse, or your sister's cat and your 1-year-old baby sister, the resistance makes sure you don't live another day. Now, these are mostly real gentle people. These are mostly real rational, philosophical, compassionate people. But at some point, angels got to rise. And at some point, there is such a thing as an avenging angel. Even Christ knew rage. Even the Buddha knows rage. The angry Buddha is seldom seen, but when the Buddha himself or herself becomes outraged, it is always because of injustice. So they're completely justified in their outrage, their moral indignity, and their rise to achieve the freedom of the innocents in their realm. So in this fictional context, those who are called the willful perpetuators, those foul, corrupt, immoral beasts who ask these questions to begin with, they learn not to ask for anyone ever again to choose between innocents. Innocents don't play the game. Innocents don't get used in the game. Innocents don't get sacrificed in the game. So at least all human children get to grow up alive. And everybody's cats, dogs, horses, parrots, ferrets, and other kinds of pets are free of being used as sacrificial animals in the game. The willful perpetuators are ultimately seen as the most foul cretins, the most appallingly stupid people, because even though some of them become famous, and even though many of them become wealthy and politically powerful sometimes, these people are seen as the resistance rises as being among the most foul, stupid, immoral, vulgar cretins alive. And so, as the resistance continues to rise, all these so called powerful people who are powerless to see their own moral dignity, they can't even find their own dignity and integrity or morality. They don't even use those words. They don't use words like ethics because they have so long since lost theirs or any claim to their own. These people are seen as anathema to the soul of humanity. Anathema meaning against the very theme of. Anybody at all who ever asks a protection question gets to be known as a willful perpetuator and therefore an enemy of the new state. And the new state is freedom. And the new state is rampant, ubiquitous innocence. And the new state is glory. Because in this glorious world where the game ends, the willful perpetuators suffer, and no cat, dog, parrot, ferret, horse, no little kid, no innocent will ever, ever, ever be sacrificed in the name of the game, in the name of that ultimate shame. The world becomes free. In the resistance, we free the slaves. My name is Love for a reason, and those who know me say that I have more courage and integrity and compassion than anyone they have ever known. You'll hear more about this. Here's to freedom. Here's to ending the game. Here's to freeing everyone from this shame. More later. I'm just getting started here.